yes, it is true. The Black Ace Hockey Podcast is back in action. My name is Blunders. I'm right here as always with your co-host Nick Jenks Jenkins. What's going on, man?
Happy December. I love your Christmas sweater to kick off the month.
Oh, yeah,
We are in an
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
even better. That's fantastic. We are in an absolute blizzard here in the EPA. It is a nightmare scenario.
Some would say it's not ideal weather to buy a car in. You know, that's
It's-
what some would say.
I would not recommend buying a vehicle with summer tires on it in the month of December
God, in Erie, PA.
in Erie, PA.
Yeah.
So, just advice for a friend.
It looks good inside, though. You know,
It's gonna be great in the garage
maybe
for
you
a
could
couple of months.
put it on the table and hey, look at it every now and again.
Yeah, I'm gonna install a turntable in the garage so that I can just spin it around
There you
until I
go.
look at it.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. It's December in Erie, so to be expected. So December also means we are approaching mid-season for the hockey world real quick, and lots to talk about, including I saw the rosters for World Juniors earlier, so I'm excited about that one too. Maybe we can touch on that a little bit today.
Yeah, there's a few junior things that happened over the last week, or maybe towards the end of the previous week with the USA versus CHL game, and a few wacky trades throughout that league as well. But I just wanted to cover some quick NHL news. Again, we're in the heart of the season. Nothing's really going on now. No trades are really surprising everybody. The Pens made a move, and I am all in. Sign Tomasino to a 10x10. You can ship that in, direct deposit just instantly into his account. What are we 3-3 since you joined?
I think it's even better than that. Give this man a key to the city.
God,
Phil
man.
Tomasino for captain.
This guy needs a statue right next to Mary Lemieux. Put Tomasino right there.
There's three pillars of Penguins hockey. It is Mario Lemieux, Sidney Crosby, and Phil Tomasino.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how my world. That's the only thing that my world revolves around right now. But kind of getting off of that note, big news alert. Ovi, this guy. I mean, if your earlier statement where he stays healthy consistently doesn't hold up, it holds up now. Fractured his leg. 2 weeks, he's back skating. How does that even happen? That guy's a freak.
This guy's a machine, and if there were ever any doubters that the Russian gas was a real thing, here's your proof that it is. I mean, a fractured leg and to be skating again in 2 weeks, that's unusual for anybody, let alone a guy who's 40 playing professional sports. I mean, he's a professional athlete. He's been fortunate to not be injured. So maybe it was a minor fracture. We don't really know the details, but hey, it's good news that he's skating already because he was on a great pace before going out. We want to see him come back and keep doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's good news for Dylan Strom too. Maybe he can get back into the point column as well. I know he's been slacking off since his go-to guy on top of the circles was out. But another guy that came back into the lineup was Austin Poppy Matthews, back into the Toronto lineup after battling some injury issues. Potted his first goal coming back too this week, so it's hopefully maybe this injury put the C on his chest and inside his heart as well. Maybe get on the little score sheet for a few games.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting, right? I don't know. I saw some stats about actually the Maple Leafs don't have that bad of a record with Matthews out.
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of interesting. But there's no doubt that he's a factor on this team, and anytime he's on the ice, he's a threat to score. So they're going to need him, especially if they're going to make a playoff run. They're going to need him to stay healthy and be scoring at a high pace. So, captain's back and seems to be firing at all cylinders right off the rip.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. Like every time I look and just like look at the standings around Toronto, I'm not watching any Toronto games really because it's just not appealing
No.
to me. But they are first in the division in the Atlantic. I think the Atlantic is pretty standard hockey right now. It's pretty much all your usual culprits at the top. Besides possibly the Boston Bruins, I know they did slide a little bit, but that division starting to look like the West, where you have your Edmonton Oilers pretty much always on the top, Kings pretty much always on top, but also they have shit records. Boston Bruins 12 and 11 hold third. 12 and 11 hold third. And then you have your Buffalo Sabres and then Detroit Red
Yeah.
Wings, and this just proves like once like this beginning of the season, yes, it's important. Yes, you want to get up a few games in a row, but we don't want what we don't want to give up early chances to get points because right when All Star break hits is when teams really turn it on. And if the Boston Bruins, if they lose 5 games in a row here, they might put themselves out of contention because of how close the bottom half of the division is.
So the Boston Bruins, while they hold third right now, they also have more games played than everybody else in the division.
Yeah.
So Tampa wins one more, they pass them. Buffalo wins two more, they pass them.
Right.
Detroit wins two more, they tie them. And then that's all just to get to the same number of games that they have played. So if they don't turn it around quick, they're going to find themselves out of the playoff race in a hurry. And with how tight this division is, every point counts. I mean, it's crazy to say because we're still in the first half of the season.
Right.
But if you dig yourself a hole, like what you were saying, if you dig yourself a hole in this tight of a race, you're never going to dig out of it. Even if you play, say you go down the stretch at the end of the season, you win 10 in a row.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee that's even enough points to get you in the playoffs. So, new coach, maybe that gets them out of the funk. Maybe they turn it around. Seems like their goaltending starting to stabilize a little bit over the last couple of games here. But they're going to need more from their superstars. Pasternak needs to step it up. Marchand needs to step it up. McAvoy's having a bad year. So there's a lot of moving parts here with Boston right now, and they've got to get it under control and get this thing figured out, or they could be on the outside looking in come April.
I would be interested in seeing we talk about trade rumors, and I look at the Detroit Red Wings have kind of always been just on the outskirts, if not last last game of the season they missed out on the playoffs, right?
Right.
I wonder if they look at Larkin and they look at Vladdy, Patty Kane, DeBrincat's in Detroit, right?
Yeah. He's a Red Wing.
I wonder if they look at these guys, maybe this year, maybe next year, if this repeats, and say, hey, what we tried to do isn't working. Clearly, we brought in some of these guys, Vladdy, Patty Kane, DeBrincat, to elevate the depth of our team, but it just hasn't meshed well. Do you think some of these guys could be on the trade block for say maybe the Flyers make an end season push, maybe the Avs are still on the outskirts? I don't know. I feel like some of these teams are losing these early games and need to make a switch fast.
It's a fair question. I mean, at what point do you look at the standings and say, we don't feel that with this group we can make it to the playoffs this year? And how do you handle that? Do you say, well, we're going to start moving some pieces out to get some futures? Detroit's an interesting case because they're a very young team still in general. I mean, guys like Larkin aren't that young anymore, but they've still got a young core.
Yeah.
DeBrincat, Lucas Raymond, Moritz Seider. Yeah. So I think for them, it's probably just to stay the course. Maybe you try to move a guy like Patrick Kane on a rental deal just to get some
Yeah.
picks or something in return. But I don't think you're trading away any of the key pieces like Raymond or DeBrincat or whoever.
Yeah.
So it probably just depends on everybody's situation. I think if I had to keep my eye on any one team in particular that might be looking to shake some things up that are struggling this year, it might be Montreal. They're currently last place in a very tough Atlantic division, who we've been talking about this whole time. And granted, they're another team who is younger.
Yeah.
They've got a very young captain in Suzuki. They've got a lot of good young pieces. But you've also got some veteran guys there who could bring you in some decent return at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Some chippy for, like, I think of like a Brendan Gallagher's been there his whole career. You're telling me you couldn't trade him for a third round pick to a team that's looking for a little bit of grit?
Right.
I mean, they've got some guys like that. So if they're looking to shake something up, they might do that. I've even heard the rumor that they would be considering moving Kirby Dach.
Rumor mill
That they might consider moving on from Kirby Dach at this point. So that would be a more significant shakeup because he's still young. I know he's had trouble staying healthy. Just bring him to the Pens. He could be Tomasino 2.0. I don't know.
I mean, who wouldn't want to play with Sidney Crosby? But who wouldn't? That's for sure. I'll be the first one to wave the flag, be like, come here, come one, come all. That's that's me.
All are welcome.
Maybe Crosby will take another pay cut. Maybe just cut 8.7 right in half, like 4.325, whatever it is.
That screws it up. He'd have to go down to 870.
870,000. All right. Hey, if you need the pieces for your last run, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Sid would do it for the boys.
He would. That's the kind of guy he is. He's like, I got enough money to buy my place in Big Sky or whatever it is, Montana, and just look at wolves all day. That's it.
Yep.
But what's right next to Big Sky, Montana, is that gracious Minnesota land up there. Kirill Kaprizov leading the NHL in points, making his case to get paid $1 gajillion million. I mean, I feel like this happens all the time, Jenks. Oh, it's payday? Yeah, let me just pot a league leading whatever. Oh, you want a disgusting amount of saves? Yeah, Jeremy Swayman, I want $9.7 gajillion as well. And then the next season, let me tank.
Yep.
I mean, at this point, I think you got to give it to him.
You give it to him. I think we talked about this at one point on the podcast too. Like, if you are Minnesota and knowing the situation you're in with that team, you have to keep Kaprizov at all costs. If he comes to you and says, I want a max contract, $8 million at the biggest number he could possibly give, $20 million.
Right.
That you give it to him. You make sure he does not leave Minnesota.
My thing is, like, do these types of players, I don't know him, so I don't know his demeanor, but I feel like, when I look at people like Panarin, or I look at somebody like Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, they're not really team first guys. They're more like, I need to get mine before mine gets got. So at what point do you say, hey, I'll take the 8x9, but in the next 3 years, if you don't rebuild the team to make the Stanley Cup, or at least make it past the semis, I'm gonna ask for a trade because I'm just not gonna be here. I'd rather get my money.
I mean, he probably has to. It just depends on what's more important to him.
That's what I mean. Like, do you actually think, like, Minnesota? Do you see, like, they have to sign him, and then they have to sign Brock Faber?
Yep.
So, I mean, how do you sign both these guys to $1 gajillion million and keep a team together? Maybe you sign Bart, say, hey, Fleury, come back out of retirement for like $1. I don't know.
We'll we'll give you free food and lodging.
Yeah, and their
but
goalie.
no money.
Who's their goalie? I screwed this up last time. I put the Buffaloes goalie in there.
Gustafsson.
Gustafsson. He's playing
He's-
well too. So it's like
He's number 1 in the NHL in goals against and save percentage.
right. So like it's a tough road for Billy G right now. I would not want to be him at all.
If anybody can do it, Billy G can.
I mean,
Ex-Penguins legend.
yeah, for like what 3 years, just got his cup with Sid and is out of there.
Doesn't matter. He got a cup. He's on the cup as a
Islander
Penguin.
legend, I guess.
Islander. Oh my god.
It is what it is. Hey, so and some of the next discussions here, I think falls in the line of is what it is, and it's these goalie catastrophes, goalie mishaps that these two in particular happened last week, and it seems to be happening more and more often. Is goalie goals or goalie just brain farts? And the first one I want to highlight, Jenks, is Lindgren. Maybe he was just tired of saving the puck all day. Just takes it off the half boards and just rips it right into his own net. I mean, hey, it was a good shot. Maybe he's on the road to beat Gretzky. He only needs what 896 more.
It's pretty close. I don't know.
The race is tight. Maybe he just wanted to catch up to Ovi. I don't know.
That's all it is.
But the next goalie, who do we have here? Samsonov. Tape to tape goes, Samsonov pretty much put it right on a platter. I don't even know who they're playing. I just have Samsonov passes right to the other team. Literally looked at him. I watched the video. Looked at him. It was like, have one. Go ahead. Go for a skate. Blows it right by him, obviously. I just... When as a goalie, Jenks, do you just have to keep in the back of your mind, you're a goaltender. Tend the goal. That's it. That's all you're supposed to freaking do.
Dude, these things, every time I see this happen, it takes me back to 2012 Fleury. I'm like, he would come so far out of the net or go I'm like, just stay in the goal, okay? Let your defenseman grab the puck. I'm like, because you never know if it's going to go in or not.
Right.
I'm like, oh my God, dude, you're killing me. I don't know. I think, it's weird. If you've got a goalie who can come out and play the puck and do it in a safe manner,
yeah,
it definitely helps your team. I mean, you can get some stretch pass, quick goals like that. But it's always a risk, and these two recent happenings are a definite risk. I mean, the Lindgren one's probably worse. He just shoots it right into his own freaking net.
Rips it.
Oh my God, bar down beauty, just like he planned it.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I guess you just have to chalk it up to.
You just chalk it.
It is what it is. It happens.
Put it up on the board. You laugh at it. You're gonna take your licks in the locker room. Take your licks in team meetings, video review. You just and that
gotta move on.
Yeah, and some people would say you can't do that to a goalie. I almost feel like you have to in order for them to kind of be like, yeah, I mean, might be whatever. Everybody does it. Again, we're humans. We all mess up. It's just, you just keep it freaking moving. But I wanted to catch you off guard here, Jenks.
All right.
Speaking of Christmas, think back to, little Jenks, in his PJs running downstairs to try to catch Santa in the act. What is your top Christmas gift you've ever gotten?
Ever. Ooh, I thought you were gonna say what hockey related are you gonna ask
No,
for?
just ever.
Oh my God, that's such a hard question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably God. I'm gonna date myself here.
Okay. Okay.
I still remember the Christmas where I wanted I had never gotten into video games. I never had my own. Really wanted one. and God knows that's where my addiction stems from today.
Sure.
Um, I still remember the Christmas where I was like, I want a PlayStation 1. I want it more than anything in the world. And, parents play like, oh, you're going to have to ask Santa, see if you've been a good
Right.
boy this year, blah, blah, blah. And thinking, I was like, there's no way I'm getting it.
Uh,
Wake up on Christmas,
yeah.
boom, PlayStation 1 and 2 games to go along with it.
Let's
It
go.
was the best thing ever. I was so pumped.
That's awesome. That's when you had to like stick the memory sticks in too. You had to remember which game was on which one.
Well, and of course, it's like it's brand new technology, and your parents know nothing about it.
Yeah.
So, like, 2 random games. I don't even remember what the games were. I think one of them was Gran Turismo,
Right.
and no memory sticks with it. So I couldn't figure out how to save anything because I didn't know memory sticks existed. I'm like a 6-year-old kid. I'm like, I don't know how to save the game. But
I think the best part about owning a PlayStation was like getting past that little like warm up screen, or like you like put in a game and you hit play and you just wait and pray that it like takes you past that opening screen, or else you just revert back to just dusting it off and wiping it on your shirt again.
100%.
Gosh, those
The
were
kids
days.
today will never understand like blowing out a game cartridge or
Yeah.
wiping off the disc, any of that. It's everything's downloaded right onto your Xbox. There's no
Yeah.
discs anymore.
You can only download one game at a time because that's how big games are now. It's stupid.
Yep.
But
Insane.
I'm in the same boat, man. Like, I remember getting my Xbox 360. Never had the Xbox original. Had a PlayStation 2. Never had a PlayStation. I had the thick one, and then I got the slim. But yeah, that I think any game console really, like when you're a kid, especially with us. I think now it's a little different. But with us, it was like brand new tech. There were no iPads. I plugged my thing. You had the AV cords. The red,
Yep.
yellow, white cords you plug in the back of the TV. You knock on the TV and it's glass, so you can't actually like break it.
Yep.
So yeah, that was pretty cool. That's probably my best one. And then I just played all day, and then I got really good. But yeah, I just wanted to see what your thoughts were around Christmas, and this next team we want to highlight. A lot of teams are doing this now, but it's kind of revolving around the holiday spirit a little bit. The Calgary Hitmen did a teddy bear toss for one of their games recently over the past week. And I think it's pretty cool because it goes towards like in the U.S. it's toys for kids, or toys for tots, I think it's called. And just to help
Yep.
all the kids, all the foster kids, or any parent really kind of struggling during the season to buy gifts, or to buy just have a Merry Christmas, if we want to call it, for everybody out there. So I think it's pretty cool, and I just want to see your thoughts and reactions to kind of like one of the bigger teddy bear tosses I've seen.
Oh yeah, I've saw the highlight of it on Twitter. It was huge. I'm a huge fan of these. It's kind of gone like across all different levels of hockey now.
Yeah.
Like I was at the Gannon hockey game the other week. I went down with Glover, and it was their teddy bear toss night. And it's a college club hockey game, right? So there's like maybe 150 people there watching the game.
Really,
But
that
there
many?
were yeah,
Oh,
there
man.
were a decent number.
All right.
But yeah, there were actually more teddy bears on the ice than I was expecting from that. So
Yeah.
it just goes to show you how broad this has gotten,
Sure.
and there's not a bad thing about it. The more you do, the better, because it's all for a good cause, and a lot of the fans really jump into this and are excited for it, and some people are going out and buying new toys for it and everything. So it's good to see it. It's fun for everybody to do. It gets everybody excited. A little extra energy in the building on Teddy
Yeah.
Bear Toss night, because it's like, when's that first one coming?
Yeah.
Everybody's waiting on the edge of your seat. So it's fun all around. It's for a great cause. There's nothing wrong with a good Teddy Bear Toss.
I think
night.
that's
You
so
can't-
cool. Like,
Yeah.
like just waiting for the first goal to go in and a first point.
Yeah.
But if say you set it up to where like if you score first, like the home team has to score for the teddy bears to go on the ice, right? What if they get shut out and the other goalie's like, hey, do I ruin my shutout for the kids, you know. So it's tough like in that way. So I'm glad like some of the teams just do like whoever scores first, like first goal goes in and just start chucking. Um, and most of the time the players all join in too. They like jump on the teddy
Oh
bears or
yeah.
kind of toss them around or toss them back just to see them thrown back over. So uh,
Yep.
it's a nice aspect to hockey. I think kind of humanizes the game a little bit instead of it being an entertainment factor. So um, and this next trade is pretty much all entertainment factor for me. The Brandon Yeager trade in the WHL. I don't even know all the specifics. If you could, do you know everything that's in this trade right now?
Yeah. Let me pull it up again. I
Because
had it
it's
up a few
absolutely
seconds ago.
ridiculous. And if anybody follows the CHL, you've seen some of these trades before, and it's like, here, have one guy for everything we ever wanted in the future, and pretty much everybody on our roster. It's actually
All right.
disgusting.
You ready?
I'm ready.
So this, keep in mind, this is not the only one of these that's going to happen this
Oh,
year.
for sure.
As the season goes on, there's going to be so more of these. It's going to be a big name for 17 other things. So Braden Yeager goes to the Lethbridge Hurricanes in exchange. Well, and Braden Yeager and Jackson Unger, whoever that is, go to the Lethbridge Hurricanes in exchange for three players: Brady Smith, Landon Ward, and Colt Carter, and looks like 6 draft picks, 2 first-round picks, a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth. So you've got a 2 for 9
Actually
going on.
ridiculous.
The scale of these in junior hockey level is just absurd. They're like, we're going to give up the farm because we're going to win today, and then it's not going to matter for the next 6 years.
Right.
So here's everything.
I sometimes I feel like it's mainly just for to put asses in seats, right? Like Brandon Yeager, kind of a big name, was on the Pens for a bit, traded him for Rutger McGroarty because he wanted to play in the NHL now, decided he was actually trash, and moved down to the AHL because that's actually where he needs to develop before becoming good. So I think these trades, maybe Brandon Yeager will bring in an extra 100,000 in the next 2 seasons, just from ticket sales. I was gonna say sicket tails, jeez.
Sick of Dales.
But you know, like stuff like that, you got to think about too, because those WHL teams, like, where is Lethbridge or left whatever to Bridge to Terabithia team? God, like it's got to be in like the northeast corner of Canada.
Alberta. So let me look up a WHL map here quickly.
God, it's got to be like next to like 2 canoes and an igloo.
So Lethbridge, Alberta, is actually they're pretty close to the border. They're a lot more central
Okay.
to the WHL than you would guess.
All right.
How many WHL teams could you actually name at this point?
Oof. I know the Pats because
Yeah.
Connor Bedard. Is there a Warbirds team? No Warbirds.
There's not a Warbirds.
all right. That's
There's
probably
the
it.
Are you thinking of the Winter Hawks?
No, I'm not. Certainly not thinking of the Winterhawks.
Okay.
I knew some team had to be a bird, so
The Thunderbirds.
Thunderbirds, but they're not WHL, right?
Yeah, they are.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yeah, that my point is they're on the West Coast. We don't care about
Yeah, nobody gives a shit, really. Unless their name is Connor Bedard. Like, literally, this is what I mean by scouting, right? Like, I don't even know how you scout these players because you can't even compare it to anything. You're 19, 16.
Yeah.
Like, in order for me to know about you, you have to be so good. Like, you have to be dominant. But unless you're not that, you're literally just playing hockey. Like, you're just playing to play. That's it.
Pretty much.
But yeah, it's just some of the trades in the WHL are pretty crazy, and going along those lines over the last weekend, I'll hand this one over to you because you probably know more about it than me. The USA played like Team USA, the developmental camp, played the CHL in a kind of a friendly match, I'd say. Kind of like if you think of soccer, just like your warm ups or your
Yeah.
kind of just a scrimmage and see what's what. It comes on the heels of the NCAA NIL merger, if you want to call it, or merger or acceptance. So, what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, it's seemingly overdue. There's always been this talk about like, oh, how good is the U.S. National Development Program?
Right.
And you think of some of the names that have come through there recently. We certainly can't name them all because it's been so many good names,
Yeah.
but um, it's there's a belief that this is on pace with the CHL program. So they put this together. It's a mini series. They played 2 games, and it's unfortunately for the U.S. it was not a good showing. The U.S. is just in sort of a bad year for the program,
Yeah.
sort of between talent years. So they ended up getting shelled in the 2 games. But they should keep this going. I mean, there's going to be years where the U.S. is on par, if not better, than some of the CHL's best. And one really interesting thing about this is we got to see some players. I think some of the, if you did tune into this, it was on NHL Network. I know that doesn't do anything for you now because it's over. But
And I
if
don't
you
pay
did
for
tune
NHL
in to watch
Network
it,
for sure.
and you don't pay for it, so there's streams out there that you could have found it. You tried hard enough. Um, if you watch this, it was an opportunity to see some of the next young guys. And I think of a guy like Matthew Schaefer, who plays for the Erie Otters. So I get to see him in person. But he really stood out in that. And a couple other guys, Porter Martone and some other guys as well, um, really stood out and made a name for themselves in that. So there's some draft stock rising because of that. Like
Yeah.
Matthew Schaefer is projected to be an early first round pick. And there are some people saying he deserves to be a top 3 pick now coming out of that. So just showcasing, country on country best and putting the best talent between the countries up against each other is always fun. And it kind of goes with the World Juniors coming up too. We're going to see some of those names play each other again at the end of this month for the World Junior tournament. And that's always one of my favorite tournaments to watch because it's such a skilled tournament
Yeah.
full of the best young players of tomorrow. A lot of drafted kids, a
Tomorrow's
lot of
today.
draft eligible kids. Tomorrow's today.
Okay. Got it. A new stat came out this past week, Jenks, and it measured probably one of the best things that I think everybody's ever wanted to know. What or who is the slowest D man in the NHL thus far in the 2024-2025 season? And I feel like there's no really surprises with this one. And it's shocking that you see 2 Penguins in the top 20. I'm like, wow.
Just shocking.
I was saying that when I was up in the 300s. Gee, the ants are moving slower than ants. They're moving like turtles down there. Holy crap. But in case anybody...
As a Penguins fan, who I will say, as a Penguins fan, who remembers the days when Olli Mata was a Penguins fan, I am shocked he is not in the top 20.
Yeah.
Because I still remember, I can play the clip in my head of Olli Mata getting torched by Bobby Ryan. And Bobby Ryan was not a fast player.
Right.
But Olli Mata was skating as hard as he could, and he looked like he was a pylon. And Bobby Ryan torched him.
And who's that other guy?
He's not in the top 10 or top 20.
That other D-man that didn't tuck his skates in and had fucking massive feet. Hayes? No. So he'll come to
A
me.
Penguin?
Yeah, he looked stupid. He had like 2 seasons with the Pens. He won the cup.
Hainsey.
Uh, what was his last name? Hainsey. Was it Hainsey?
Hainsey.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
God, ancient. I don't even know how that guy moved, but
Steady, stable defenseman. Stay at home, baby.
like Hal Gill, I guess. But slowest in the NHL. Braden McNabb, Ian Cole could have told you that one. Could have told you
Ex
that one.
Penguin. No
Yeah,
surprise.
he was slow for like 8 years. Connor Murphy, David Savard, and Luke Shen round out your top five. If anybody's a Penguins fan, Jack St. Ivy and Ryan Graves are in your top 15, which is absolutely terrible. You should not have your bottom pair D partner as the slowest in the league. Um, I'd look across the table and be like, why are we doing this? What's the point? What's the point? Maybe we should switch something up. I mean, this is not a list you want to be on.
No, it's not a list you want to be on, and it's maybe this is one of the reasons why the Pens are struggling so bad is because the game has gotten so fast, and we've got two of the slowest guys in the league on our on one pair. Uh, so I'm sure some goals have been scored against them when they've been on the ice together.
Yeah.
But it's tough because in all fairness, if you're a guy that's that slow, you have to play the game a certain way. Like you can't get caught pinching or you're toast. You've got to be more of a stay-at-home guy. You're probably not much of a puck mover. You're definitely not jumping up in the rush. And I look at guys on this list and I'm not going to name anybody, but if you just look, kind of glance down the list a little bit, none of these guys are like very offensive-minded guys.
No.
So it's you're in the league for a reason. You got to know your role. You got to be a stay-at-home guy, and that's the way it is. And a lot of these guys are bigger bodies too, which helps too. So
don't try to justify this. If you're slow, you're slow.
If you're slow, you're slow, and you should be training with Sidney Crosby.
Right. Like every time I walk out onto the ice, not as a ref anymore, but you look across. Even at warm-ups, you can tell who the slow guys are. They try to take everything with like a little bit more grace, and they're not really like showing off. Like those are the guys like, yeah, I'm gonna burn that guy if I ever catch him on my side. And that's how all these NHL guys. Yes, they know who the slow guys are, but to your point, I think you have to pair the slow guys with a fast defenseman. That way, like he can cover and like maybe step outside the blue line as the guy pinches. That way, like that guy's never gonna pinch. I hope to God that like Radko Gudas never pinches because if he misses, it's GG. See you later, next captain. But I think of people like Dumoulin, who was like always slow, but was paired with like Chris Letang or was paired with like somebody faster where they could get back a little quicker if he ends up pinching and missing. So these stats always kind of crack me up because like how do you even measure this? Like how does one even measure how slow those guys are going? Like is there a chip in their skates, or do we have cameras now that just lock in on their position?
I think I remember reading something about there's technology in their jerseys. Like there's a chip in the players' jerseys that actually track this stuff.
Okay. In the Fanatics jersey.
Yeah. So, they probably fall out all the time because
right.
How Fanatics stuff goes. So
flies out of the pouch, yeah.
So interestingly enough, to touch on it, there were some surprises if you look at the fastest NHL defenseman list. Do you have that up too?
I'm pulling it up now.
So this is the biggest surprise to me. I didn't think he was slow, but the fastest player in the NHL this season has been Jacob Slavin of Carolina. And by no means did I think he was slow, but I did not think he was the fastest guy.
Yeah. And I wonder if this is going forwards or backwards. I would have to assume It's going backwards.
No, there's no way you're skating 24 miles an hour
Well,
backwards.
what's the fastest forwards? Okay, fastest forwards is 24 as well. So I don't know, dude. When you're D man and that's all you train is skating backwards, you can get pretty fast.
You're not skating backwards. I don't care who you are. You're not skating backwards
Where
20 miles an hour.
prove me wrong, and then I'll accept your point of view. Until then,
Okay.
this is 24 mile an hour backwards.
Okay. Bonus content. We're going to get on the ice, and you are going to skate backwards next to me.
Destroy you.
You are going to skate backwards. You're going to skate backwards, and I'm going to skate forwards, and we're going to go the whole length
I'm
of
on the ice more than you could ever dream about. I live on the ice practically now.
Then you should have no problem skating backwards faster than I can skate forwards.
Okay, all right. No, absolutely not. I would get torched because you have an acceleration point faster than mine. I would need at least a blue line start. I would need a blue line start.
I will let you start at the top of the circle, and I will start at the goal line.
All right. I think I got you beat there.
I guarantee you do not.
I don't know, man. I could hustle with the best of them.
Somebody put the odds on this one. It's going to happen. Bonus content coming your way.
Plus 200 on Blaine. That's
plus 200 on Blaine.
Yeah. Yep. That's it.
I'm putting it on plus 3,000.
No way. Jenks.
There's no shot.
Jenks. You know, I'm on the ice. That's all I do is skate backwards. 10, 12 I'm using my edges. I'm using the inside.
I didn't think you skated much at all. I thought you were a blue line to blue line guy.
Nah, I'm goal line guy.
Goal line.
big 1-2 and then coast guy.
1-2 coast.
Especially
two big pushes.
Especially if there's a 5-game set and it's game 1, I'm not gassing it. You gotta pace yourself throughout the day.
In that case, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly.
So, yep, I agree.
Exactly. To round out the podcast, Jenks, as always, give us your college news if you have any.
Not much news in college this week. We had some stuff to report on last week. It's been an off week because of the holiday. So there's really not much to report on this week. I did not present the top 5 and the stats from last week. So your current leader in points for the NCAA is, again, we've mentioned him a couple of times, Jack Devine of the
Pittsburgh
Denver. I mean, as far as I know, he's a free agent, so maybe we could. Oh no, he's drafted by Florida.
Well, of course, yeah, that would
he's
make
not of
sense.
the Pittsburgh Penguins
Because we suck at drafting and scouting.
So yeah, he's number 1 in points, and for your top 10 in the first December poll, Michigan State is still number 1. Mm-hmm. Denver drops to 2 after losing to Arizona State. I think we talked about that last week.
Big upset, yeah.
Boston College is 3, Minnesota is 4, and Maine is number 5.
I told you, Maine. You gotta watch out for those Black Bears.
So they're up and coming, man. Mm-hmm. They can do it. So
I love their jerseys too.
Oh, they do have nice jerseys.
Yeah.
I would agree with that for sure. So yep, and in the we'll say built-in bye week for the holiday, there's nothing really to report on the college news. So stay tuned for next edition.
Yeah, and if people don't understand that, college in the United States, they get off for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving just happened, and then they come back for like 3 weeks, which is crazy. And then they get another 2-week break because of the holidays again, which, you can't hate, but it is what it is. It's just gearing up for midterms, which I always hated. I'm like, what is the point? Just let's do our tests and be done and go home.
Yep, 100%.
So this week, The writing on your wall pick will be December 7th, 2024. Wow, Jesus, it's almost the end of the year. Every time I hear December, I'm like, Christ, where did the year go? But December 7th, full slate of games that day. Jenks, let me hear. What is your writing on the wall?
I'm gonna make this decision on the fly because I'm still kind of between two games right now.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna pick one and go. And the one that's speaking to me more is we've already talked about how crazy the Buffalo fans can be, right? And
Sure.
that that doesn't always translate to the Sabres because Sabres fans are a very frustrated fan base right now. They've been climbing out of this rebuild for most of my entire life at this point.
Yeah.
And they're still at a 500 record this season, so it doesn't appear to be ending anytime soon. The team that they play on Saturday, however, has gotten a new fresh start. The Utah Hockey Club.
That is the fresh start. The freshest you can ask for.
The freshest. Moving from the desert out to the mountains of Utah.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually, their record isn't very good, but they're playing a lot better this year than the record indicates.
Yeah.
They've got some really big wins. They've knocked off some good teams. They've got some really good young players. Logan Cooley and Dylan Gunther, just to name a couple of them. They're having really good years. They went out and added some players. They got aggressive. I think this team is better than their record shows. And they're going to go into Buffalo on Saturday, and they're going to take them out. These Utah guys are young and hungry.
All right.
And they're going to step in there and say, you know what, it's time for us to turn it on. And something in my guts just saying Utah's got this one locked up. So Utah Hockey Club over the Buffalo Sabres on Saturday, December 7th, 2024.
All right. I was doing some investigating myself because I didn't want to pick an easy one for myself on Saturday. I'm looking at a team that's two young guns have successfully gotten points in the last 4 of 5 games. Now you might be thinking, oh man, that's probably like Ottawa. They always have young guns every year that are stepping up. But this year I'm looking to the West Coast, and this team just got the first overall draft pick in Celebrini, and that is the San Jose Sharks. Will Smith and Celebrini have assisted or scored, both of them, in the last 4 of 5 games. Now, if I know my statistics, that's an upward trend. And I love upward trends. Big candlestick guy. Huge candlestick.
Huge math guy.
Yeah. So they play the Florida Panthers. And I know, Blaine, you're not going to pick the reigning or, the Stanley Cup champions over the Sharks. You can't pick the Sharks over the Florida Panthers. But I certainly can pick them. And that's what I'm going to do.
Wow.
Celebrini and Will Smith are going to pot a natty hattie both in the first period to lock in that chip. I think they're going to wake up and want to play. I think the Florida Panthers are going to play their backup. All the things that are going to align for the Sharks to build momentum towards next season. They're not making playoffs. There's just no way, no how. But this could help them kickstart their mental capacity. Hey, we beat these guys already. Think back, Jenks. You play a team and you're like, they're tough, but hey, we beat them. Like St. Vincent, every year you're like, shit, this goalie again.
Yeah.
But we beat him 3-2, or we beat him 1-0. So let's do it. Come on. So maybe it's something like that. So it's gonna be cool to see, and hopefully they pull it out. San Jose over Florida Panthers, Saturday, December 7th. You can book that one responsibly.
That is a bold call, and I love it.
It's
the
only one that I think I like. That's not easy. Outside of maybe the Kings or the Wild, but I don't know if that's going on the card today. But any final thoughts for the world, Jenks?
Nothing to report on this week. If God could stop making it snow for 24 hours, that would be fantastic. That's all I have to ask.
And if anybody knows Erie weather, literally they don't clean the roads. They just throw down gravel and compact it. So you literally drive on ice up there. It's actually stupid. I don't know why there's not more car accidents than there is. But people do
It's
drive
insane.
like 5 miles an hour, like around everything.
Yeah, that's one way to avoid the big potholes is just go as slow as you possibly can.
Well, they're filled in with snow, so you can't hit them.
Actually, the roads are a bit smoother in the wintertime than they are in the summer.
That
They
is
are
true.
compacted with snow.
Yeah. I guess that's one bright spot in Erie. So, all right, guys, make sure to
man.
follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Black Aces Hockey. And I am your host, Blaine Adams. I'm right here as always with your co-host Nick Jenkins. We're out of here.